Memorandum of Understanding between China and the WHO, which specifically says that the correct terminology for Taiwan is the province of China, in exchange of the country's participation in the global organization. Both the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Department of Health denied the acceptance of such MOU, but lawmakers at the committee continue to bombard with questions and criticism.
The 65th World House Assembly meeting is going to convene in Geneva on May 21st. House Minister Cho Wen-da will lead a delegation to attend the meeting, and he is expected to give a speech. But DPP lawmakers question that the Ma administration accepted the 2005 MOU that the World Health Organization signed with China to refer Taiwan as a province of China. So Cho is able to attend the meeting this time. Lawmaker Cai Huanglang says that the DPP-led administration was unable to become an observer at the WHO since it didn't accept such terms from 2005 to 2008, and he requests the Ma administration to stay at the assembly to lodge complaints and stage protests in various forms. On another note, lawmakers also complain that the government's visit to inspect U.S. beef factories might be wasting taxpayers' money since the delegates departed without a confirmed itinerary. Although legislators criticized the trip as a sightseeing tour, Ministry of Foreign Affairs stressed the visit as a form of political pressure being put on the U.S. government.
A few days ago, Thai Power chairperson Edward Chen has said that he would not give up his post. Now, his resignation has been accepted by the government, and thus he has become the first top official to step down as a result of the controversy over the electricity price adjustment. Chen's replacement will be Vice Minister of Economic Affairs Huang Zhongzhou.
The public and industries have reacted negatively to the increase in the price of electricity, to be carried out in 3 stages rather than one fell swoop, and the news that Thai Power overpaid in sourcing coal and electricity. On the night of May 5th, in an unusual move, the Ministry of Economic Affairs sent out a text message to the media announcing that Thai Power chairperson Edward Chen had resigned. Meanwhile, Premier Sean Chen confirmed that Edward Chen's replacement would be Vice Minister of Economic Affairs Huang Zhongzhou. During an interview, the Premier stressed that reforms at Thai Power would not be halted just because the chairperson had changed. However, he did not respond to a question as to the reasons behind Edward Chen's surprise resignation. The Ministry of Economic Affairs said that Edward Chen had submitted his letter of resignation on May 4th and that the Executive Yuan immediately accepted the resignation that same afternoon. Previously on the same day, Edward Chen had foreshadowed his resignation during a meeting of the task force set up to improve Thai Power's operations. It is estimated that Thai Power will post a loss of more than 70 billion NT dollars this year. That, coupled with its loss of 117.9 billion NT dollars last year, means that its losses will exceed half of the company's capital of 330 billion NT dollars. Therefore, the resignation comes at an extremely sensitive time for the company, as it is in the midst of attempting to carry out reforms to better its operations.
Premier Sean Chen has confirmed that Vice Minister of Economic Affairs Huang Zhongzhou will take over the helm of Thai Power following the resignation of the company's chairman Edward Chen. On Monday morning, as Huang decided to head into the Legislative Yuan, he was besieged by reporters. He told them that the administrative procedures for his new position are still ongoing and that he will concurrently hold both positions until he can retire officially before taking over the post full-time. Huang also said that his first task as Thai Power chairperson is to resolve the issue over the company's controversial procurement process.
As Vice Minister of Economic Affairs Huang Zhongzhou, the new chairperson of Thai Power, arrived at the Legislative Yuan, he was encircled by members of the media. When asked when he will officially become the chairperson of the electricity company, Huang said the administrative procedure is still ongoing and that in the beginning he will serve as Thai Power chairperson in his capacity as Vice Minister of Economic Affairs. Huang formerly served as the executive director and also the vice chairperson of the State-Owned Enterprise Commission. During his time as Vice Minister of Economic Affairs, he was in charge of energy affairs, hydraulic power, and industrial development, among others. It is estimated that Thai Power's accumulated losses this year will be close to 200 billion NT dollars, and its operating procedures have also been criticized by the outside world. Huang admitted that the new position comes with pressure, but promised that he would do the best he can. He also said that the reform of Taipower will be carried out in a transparent manner so that the concerns of society can be addressed. As Taipower is classified as a nationalized enterprise, Huang will need to retire from his position as Vice Minister of Economic Affairs before he can take up the chairmanship. This effectively means an end to his career as a public servant.
The second public hearing for the Wanwan Group's high-profile acquisition bid of China Network Systems Company, the Taiwan's second-largest cable operator, took place on May 7th. The group's president, Chai Ing-wen, made a surprise appearance at the public hearing as he stepped up to the front line to defend his bid. The media tycoon asked to have a question-and-answer session and welcomed any questions to examine his patriotism.
Wanwan Group Chairman Chai Ing-wen, who had claimed to not attend the public hearing, made a surprise appearance as he decided to come to the front line to clear the way for the $80 billion buyout deal, which is the biggest media acquisition in Asia over the last 5 years. After his allotted 5 minutes were up, Chai tried to wrap up his speech but was booed. During the lunch break, the media tycoon approached the chairman of the hearing, asking for some time to answer questions. But the NCC denied such request as the hearing has a fixed format. Observers believe many factors will come into play in the buyout deal, given Chai's apparent pro-China line, controversial remarks, and the China Times' recent inclusion of more Chinese news. Some academics believe further discussion is needed, since the public worries the bid may compromise the freedom of expression and diversity of speech. The case has been under review at the NCC for 1 year and 4 months, but since 3 of the 7 panel members recused themselves, leaving only 4 of them to take part in the review process, the NCC will have to re-elect its members in July, which adds another variable to whether the case could proceed to final approval during this term.
More than 1,000 Southeastern Asian immigrants participated in a hiking event held by the National Immigration Agency last Sunday in celebration of the upcoming Mother's Day. During the event, the Ministry of the Interior announced that the Immigrant Torch Project will be launched in more than 1,900 schools around the island, offering greater assistance and care for the immigrants and their children.
On a sunny day last Sunday, immigrants from Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, and other nations, dressed in the traditional attire of their own cultures, took part in a hiking event held by the National Immigration Agency in an early celebration of the upcoming Mother's Day. Tutorials on the making of artificial carnation flowers were offered on the site for the special occasion. Meanwhile, the Ministry of the Interior as well as the Ministry of Education also took the opportunity to launch the Immigrant Torch Project, which aims to improve the welfare of immigrants by offering education programs more tailored to the needs of children from immigrant families. Aside from regular school subjects, these children will also be given the chance to learn their mother's native languages. The authorities hope the new project will represent a significant step toward enhancing cultural diversity in Taiwan.
Educational authorities have finished the special report on the 12-year compulsory education program in Taipei, New Taipei, and Keelung City, and estimated to complete a pilot program by the end of this October. But when Taipei Mayor Hao Bing presented the report at the City Council, he was bombarded by councillors with allegations that the program was formulated in an untransparent manner, no less than holding students as guinea pigs.
The highly anticipated 12-year compulsory education program in Taipei, New Taipei, and Keelung City has finally come out. Taipei Mayor Hao Bing presented the program at the City Council, but was met with strong criticism as city councillors gave him guinea pigs to mock at the Education Bureau's untransparent manner in formulating the program. Some city councillors said the program's approach to accept application before a future recruitment would cause severe crowding out effect. Currently, the program stipulates that the lock drawing rate will be controlled to below 5% of the total open admission number in the district, should there be too many students applying. But some city councillors question the current regulations and criteria to compare and choose which students to admit will create more pressure on students. The educational authorities in Taipei, New Taipei and Keelung City will complete the pilot program by this October and will review the process and propose amendments within 2 months afterwards.
In an effort to resolve the issues arising from a shortage of nurses, the Department of Health has announced that an additional 2 billion NT dollars in funds will be earmarked annually for nurses, and that the ratio of nurses in the country will be increased from the current 4.6 nurses per 1,000 residents to 5 nurses per 1,000 residents. With these measures, the DOH hopes to increase the salaries of nurses and improve their working conditions so that the shortage issue can be settled.
Medical personnel often work long hours in poor conditions. In order to care for sick patients, many of them put their own health at risk. In recent years, hospitals have had difficulties in recruiting doctors for the internal medicine, surgery, gynecology, and pediatrics departments, and now the problem has been compounded by a shortage of nurses. In light of these difficulties, the Department of Health has announced that it will earmark an additional 2 billion NT dollars annually in funds for nurses. This amount will be used to increase the salaries of nurses, including basic salaries and extra pay for night shifts, and also be spent to recruit nurses. The number of nurses is thus expected to increase by 9,000 in the short term. Meanwhile, former Health Minister Yang Zhiliang has proposed that the government increase the salaries of nurses by 5,000 NT dollars and also provide workplace incentives. The Department of Health has said that in addition to forming a series of coherent measures, the Bureau of National Health Insurance is also investigating whether it is feasible to include in the annual healthcare budget additional items that qualify for insurance coverage, such as the care of sick patients and hospital rooms or operating rooms. In this way, the department hopes to gradually resolve the issues arising from the shortage of nurses.
The Ethnic Affairs Commission of Tainan City started a special teaching program at a local kindergarten earlier this year, helping pupils of different ethnic backgrounds learn the Hakka language through children's songs. The result of their learning was shown in an event at the kindergarten last weekend, and the parents were all impressed by the remarkable performance of their children.
Just 3 months ago, these kindergarten pupils couldn't speak Hakka at all, but now they're able to sing in Hakka with ease, thanks to the efforts of the Ethnic Affairs Commission of Tainan City Government. Working on the conviction that Hakka must be heard to be learned, the commission selected one local kindergarten earlier this year and started teaching its 200-plus pupils the Hakka language through children's songs. Although most of the pupils came from non-Hakka backgrounds, they still showed great interest in learning this ethnic language, and their parents also approve of the idea despite the limited opportunities for speaking Hakka in Tainan. Many parents believe that learning another native language of Taiwan will help the children broaden their horizons by being exposed to a linguistic culture they're previously unfamiliar with. And according to the head of Tainan's Ethnic Affairs Commission, 6 more kindergartens will be included in the next stage of this program in order to build a more solid foundation for the education of Hakka language in Tainan.
To celebrate the arrival of Tongue Blossom, the Hakka Affairs Council has organized an outdoor performance and exhibition at the Neiwan train station in Hengshan Township of Hsinchu. The show incorporated famous Hakka cartoon character Big Grand Auntie and singing and dancing performance to enable visitors to experience authentic Hakka culture.
Following the dance trips, many visitors arrived at the plaza in front of the Neiwan train station to appreciate the dancing lion performance, to give this year's Tongue Blossom Festival some creative twist. Hakka Affairs Council incorporated elements of famous cartoon character Big Grand Auntie and singing and dancing performance to entertain visitors. Through such performances, the organizer hoped to enable visitors to get to appreciate authentic and amazing Hakka cultural performances, while encouraging more talented Hakka artists to showcase their creativities.
今天的男主角呢？请女主角问最后一个问题。
第一次约会，那你们会想要做什么呢？
我们可以开车，享受驾驭感；我们可以骑车，享受速度；我们可以散步，享受浪漫感。
Qipao is a traditional Chinese dress that has made a lasting impression on both the Western and Eastern worlds. This form-fitting one-piece dress is said to be the best way to show off a lady's figure and elegance.
穿上旗袍以后，我觉得整个人的你举手投足，简直像换了一个人。然后我觉得中国女人很比较那种内敛美啊，我觉得能够在旗袍这样能够很完整的表现。
Qipao was the traditional dress of the Qi tribe, and they became an important part of women's fashion after the 1940s. The wives of government officials, as well as ladies in high society, wore qipao dresses to functions and parties. Having a qipao on is not only a display of a woman's graceful posture, but also a symbol of her social status. There has been a wave of Chinese trends in recent years. Not only has learning Chinese become a fad, Chinese-style clothing has also become trendy. Qipao dresses have improved over time to reflect modern fashion styles and to help show off women's curves.
那如果我们改良式的呢？就是说，看我们的创意啊，然后去迎合现代的这个时代潮流 ，maybe 对年轻人来讲是一种惊艳的感觉。
那旗袍它本身是讲求线条，还有它的质感，所以呢，不管是传统跟这个改良呢，我觉得都是在我们旗袍文化里面可以发扬的。
Wearing a qipao adds traditional Chinese flair to a woman's style. It makes her quite eye-catching at formal functions and holiday parties.
在台北租屋，考验我们的看家本领。有时房子老，有时坪数小，遇到太贵，就租不了。
现在有公营住宅啦，环保绿建筑，哇，不但盖得好，生活机能也很好，而且租金也低哦。
Yes。哇，真是好家在！
让我们轻松成家，自在生活。
公营住宅，窝心好宅。
Welcome back to Inside Taiwan. I'm Melvin Tan. To encourage students to take an interest in traditional folk arts as well as promote the concept of teamwork, Miaoli County's Donghuan Elementary School established a Hakka drum jumping team 17 years ago. Although the group almost disbanded on several occasions, the support and encouragement of the community allowed the club to remain active. The traditional art, which is rarely seen in the north, has allowed the school to make a name for itself.
Wearing Hakka floral uniforms, the students move into cross and swastika formations in perfect rhythm. Donghuan Elementary School's Hakka jump drum team was founded 17 years ago and currently has 40 members. Although the group was nearly disbanded on several occasions, the support of the school's principal and community allowed the group to proceed. Because jump drum performances garner little interest in Miaoli, the team performs just once per year in competition. Principal Chen Zhaoqu feels that a school with history must also have its own culture, and school officials feel that education should not be limited to textbooks. The school is also well known for its dragon team, which, like the drum team, allows students to develop teamwork and physical strength and stamina. At the same time, the teams have helped the school to make a name for itself.
The Lanling Theatre Workshop, though already disbanded now, was a pioneer group in the history of Taiwan's contemporary and modern theatre, while it had nurtured many talents in the theatrical world. Young director Li Zhong and his father Xiao Ye, who is a famous writer, have collaborated in a documentary project to tell the story of the legendary workshop.
the Lanling Theater Workshop turned 30 in 2009. An old play was restaged with a few original cast members, including Li Guoxiu, Liu Ruoyu, Li Tianzhu, and Gu Baoming. 30 years ago, the workshop launched a new theater movement in Taiwan and nurtured many excellent talents in the theatrical world. To document his stories, director Li Zhong and his father, Xiao Ye, collaborated in making a documentary film to introduce the history of the workshop and its impact on Taiwan's modern theater. Many of the precious images taken during the rehearsals 30 years ago were made public in the documentary film for the very first time. Since the workshop disbanded in 1991, not many young people are aware of its stories. The director Li Zhong was one of them. At the beginning, he resisted the idea of making a film on the topic, but he was very touched by the spirits of these theater pioneers after he learned more about the workshop. Even though it no longer exists, there was no end to the found reminiscences of its early days.
A guest house for backpackers in Taidong City offers its guests the choice to exchange work or second-hand books for stays. This is because the owner, a former backpacker, loves to travel and read. Although this method means that it's hard for her to make profits, she says she's satisfied as long as she's helping others to enrich their lives.
Ms. Chen quietly reads a book while she keeps an eye on the guests, ready to offer her assistance should they need it. She is both a temporary employee and a guest at this guest house for backpackers. Downstairs, many original works of art line the walls, made by those who have stayed here. One frequent guest twisted coat hangers to make this piece of installation art in the shape of a cat, and has also taught other guests how to do the same. The owner of this guest house for backpackers in Taichung City not only accepts payment in cash for her rooms, but also allows guests to work for her in exchange for stays. 8 years ago, Ms. Luo and her husband, who both work in the information industry, moved to Taidong. Ms. Luo is a former backpacker herself, and so 5 years ago, she decided to start running a guest house for backpackers. She also likes to read, and so she deplored the fact that Taidong has no second-hand bookshops. Thus, starting last year, she decided to open her own second-hand bookshop on the lower floor of the guest house. She not only sells second-hand books, but also accepts them in exchange for free stays at the guest house. Ms. Luo says meeting all of these travelers who have come through her guest house has enriched her life.
After a 3-year hiatus, the vocational training program for overseas Chinese youth from Myanmar resumed this year, with 17 students assigned to various universities in Taiwan for courses on professional skills. In order to help these students get accustomed to the life in Taiwan as soon as possible, the OCAC recently held an orientation where college counselors for overseas compatriot students and alumni of previous training programs were invited to share their experiences with the newcomers.
After a 3-year hiatus, the vocational training program for overseas Chinese youth from Myanmar resumed this year, with 17 trainees assigned to various universities in Taiwan for courses on baking, cooking, tourism, multimedia, and mass communication. In order to help these trainees get accustomed to life in Taiwan, the OCAC recently held an orientation meeting for them, during which Deputy Minister Ren Hong encouraged the participants that after their graduation, they should proactively interact with Taiwanese businesses planning on investments in Myanmar for the benefits of both parties. Alumni of previous training programs also attended the orientation meeting to share their experiences with the newcomers, who arrived in Taiwan less than 3 months ago and have found many things about the island's culture intriguing. In addition, the OCAC has demanded the overseas compatriot students' counseling offices at various universities to help the trainees settle down in their new environment. The offices are required to routinely report back to the OCAC to make sure that the students' needs are taken good care of.
A cave site near mountainous area of the Xiaoma community in Zhonggang Township of Taidong County, which when archaeologists explored the site 9 years ago, they discovered ancient artifacts of old stone age dated 25,000 years ago. The site has been closed since from human intervention. Lately, some people went into the site and found that it would be an interesting expedition for visitors. While the site is worth exploring, experts in the National Museum of Prehistory believe it is not suitable to open to the public, as the cave is identified as a repository with archaeological resources.
The cave in Xiaoma community in Chenggong Township of Taidong County is a prehistory heritage site where NTU archaeologist Chen Youbei led a team to explore 9 years ago and discovered artifacts of the Old Stone Age dated 25,000 years ago. The site is believed to have similar characteristics of the Changbin culture, a major discovery of the local archaeological development. While the site is not known to many, some people intruded the place and found lots of bats and stalactites. Although it seems like a good place for adventure, there are safety issues to consider if it is to be open to the public. Another intriguing landscape can be found outside the cave, as the wall seems to be a pile-up of several huge stones. Some people believe it is similar to that of pyramids in Egypt, but experts said it's a natural geological phenomenon. While the site is not listed as a national heritage and the Taidong County government doesn't have the budget for its preservation efforts, archaeologists and National Museum of Prehistory have plans to explore the site once again and urge the public to stay away and leave it undisturbed.
台湾许多社区发展都有自己独特的脉络由来，这是应文建会之邀，共有19个社区参与华山文化园区的开园活动，一一现场示范，细数他们公益发展的精彩过程。透过社区的在地文化，结合当地的自然产物，这些蕴含社区生活点滴的公益作品，成就了一篇篇动人的故事，刻画在民众的编织、雕刻、涂彩里。社区公益展现出生活的美，成为社区文化重要的一环，也让大众体验了解，在同一块土地上不同族群特色鲜活的创意交融。
Since May 2008, one of government's policy priority has been trying to integrate Taiwan's economy regionally and internationally. On the next Taiwan Outlook, we'll have Dr. Shi Zhenping, who's an associate professor at the Institute of International Human Resource Development of the National Taiwan Normal University, to share with us his views on some of the challenges and opportunities confronting Taiwan. I'll see you on Macroview Television.
And that's all the time we have for today's Inside Taiwan. I'm Melvin Tan. Thank you once again for watching. Wishing you a great day. See you tomorrow.
天空下，枫叶迎风飞舞，多层次的色泽就像大自然的画布。哇！拜访枫叶故乡奥万大，漫步亲近小瑞士，悠游奢华的欧